been a lot of videos lately about starting Minecraft Forever Worlds, but what does that mean? What does it look like long-term, years after you've started? Is it worth the time and effort, or is it just a painful reminder of the past, or worse yet, a waste of time? Let's jump in and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of having a Forever World. First, what is a Forever World? Basically, it's a world that you intend to play in for forever. You're in this for the long haul. It's a world you can always come back to when you're bored of another world, finished with another world, tired of starting all over again, or that you just love so much that you want to be there all the time. But it does have its own problems. I have 3 Forever Worlds. Although, frankly, every world I start, I sort of think of as a Forever World. Even the hardcore ones, because I'm a pack rat. But my 3 actual Forever Worlds are very different from each other. The first one is a creative world that I started the day I started playing Minecraft. It's become a sort of archive. When I make a starter house in a new world, I make a copy of it in my creative world. If I'm experimenting with redstone farms, I might work on the mechanism in my redstone world, which, let's face it, is another Forever World, so that's 4. But I might work on the casing in my creative Forever World, or I might work on integrating it into existing builds, like automating all the doors in an existing town. If I just want to build something crazy or see what a floor made of lodestones looks like, that's in my creative Forever World. And I do also test out village transformations there. My Corbusier village is an example of that. All made from Le Corbusier's designs and floor plans, but I'll never build it anywhere else. My creative Forever World is for me to have fun without the grind of resource collection, and for me to archive builds from other worlds, which I ended up being very happy I did, but more on that later. There's no rhyme or reason to this world, there's no real plan. It has things that would be super grindy in survival, like a fully linked up rail system that goes for thousands of blocks, and huge builds just to see what something looks like on that scale. Yes, I could do these things in a super flat world, which I do have, but I don't count that as a Forever World, and don't ask me why, I don't know. But I like doing these things in whatever terrain the world has thrown at me. This world is a hodgepodge playground, just for mucking about in. After 7 years, it's big, a bit of a mess, and I love it. My second Forever World is the Dreaming Dominion, which I started a few months into playing Minecraft and when I started this YouTube channel. If you want to see the progression of this world, there's a link to the playlists for it in the description. Just bear in mind that Season 1 is old. I was just starting on YouTube, so the early videos have their issues. This one is a survival world, and probably more what people think when they hear Forever World. So it's a handy example of the good and bad of a Forever World. Let's start with the good. I can see everything I've done, and how far I've come. This world is 7 years old. Over that time, my building style and my playing style have changed, and I can see that as I travel out from my base, which happens to also be my starter base. I deliberately made that modular so I could expand as needed. Basic builds, basic villager transformation, some things are weird, and then it all starts to change. There's more detail, more experimentation, more cohesion. There is a big difference between my first village transformation and my latest village transformation. This world is a record of not just skill building, but also confidence building. As I journey outward, I can see my world building getting more ambitious. There's more lore, bigger builds, more detail. I can see my world becoming something rather than just being a collection of whatever's in my head like my creative Forever World. Going for a walk in the Dreaming Dominion is like going for a walk through time, or through my mind, or through Minecraft. I see something and I can remember when I did it, usually what prompted it, what was going on in life or in the real world or whatever. I can see where new updates came in, not just because of new terrain, but also because my block palette has expanded. I can walk out through an updating Minecraft terrain history. When you make a Forever World, you are making a memory bank. And a forever world presents you with the opportunity to push your boundaries, test your resolve, and to do that without time pressure. The Dreaming Dominion is, for me, a place to make big farms that have a purpose and to then integrate them into the world. At least that's the plan. I haven't got around to it with all the farms I've built so far, but that's okay because this is my forever world. I don't have to get around to it right now. I can put off things till later when I have a good idea or the time or the resources. There is no rush because it's here forever. Although, because this is a YouTube world, there sometimes is a time pressure, but that's external to the world rather than inherent. In a forever world, you might do things you wouldn't otherwise. A lot of this world is connected by an overworld road network and by a nether transport system, which, when you intend to play in a world forever, makes a lot of sense to do. Something that could be seen as a waste of time in a shorter term world becomes in many ways essential, and it pays to make that essential thing as well as you can make it, complete with decoration. There is the luxury of permanency to go for aesthetics. And honestly, if you just want to drive a straight flat road across a landscape as a hold for something better later, you can do it, because later will eventually come around, which can lead to procrastination, which is a problem. So let's talk about the drawbacks of a forever world. The main one is I can see everything I've done. I have a permanent reminder of how crappy my building skills were, how I didn't even think about texturing or shading, which as a real life artist I should have, how homogenous my early village transformations were. It can be quite painful. I sometimes think about going back and fixing those early builds, but I do think it pays to have that reminder. Although I do now go in and build new things next to the old things if I think it appropriate, and the base continues to grow. Then there's the issue of what do you do with the forever world when a new update comes out? It's not so simple as starting again or travelling out a little bit to new terrain generation. Every update I am faced with the same dilemma. Do I just update and travel thousands of blocks for new terrain and features? Do I trim and update, finding the new stuff closer to home but potentially making a mess of what was there? I've had that happen in a world. It doesn't always work out. What I have done with the Dreaming Dominion is a sort of compromise. I check how much change an update is going to cause, and then I decide what to do. For one that's going to dramatically alter things, such as 1.18, I look at chunk base to see what my seed would be like in the new generation. 1.18 was going to cause problems. If I trimmed too much, my stronghold lighthouse would have been in the middle of a forest rather than the middle of the ocean. And there were other weird things across the whole known world. So I left it as it was, trimmed off a little bit at the edges where I hadn't been doing much, and updated. But unlike starting a newer, short-term world, updating a forever world is always an exercise that raises questions and creates anxiety, at least for me. And because you're in a world long-term, you have to face the fact that sometimes an update will break things, particularly farms. And because this is a forever world, there is a good chance that the broken farm has had a lot of extra effort put into it in the first place. Take my Guardian farm, for instance. It's in that huge building over there, which is about to get even bigger. I've had to fix that farm 3 times now for 3 updates. Twice were minor fixes, but the latest one took me a long time to work out and alter, and is why this is going to get bigger. If you are committing to a forever world, be prepared for breakages and maintenance, or to rebuild a beloved farm all over again, or for a farm to become completely useless, like the drowned copper farm I built, which is now totally obsolete due to copper veins and troll chambers. Another problem with a forever world, and this is the biggest for me, is not breaking farms, breaking terrain, or the change in skills that comes with any activity we practice and hone over the years, but the change in play style. This may never be an issue for you, or it may be a big issue. For me, it certainly is an issue. When I started the Dreaming Dominion, I had no overarching world plan, no lore, no idea. I just wanted to get in and play, build what I wanted, do what I wanted. It didn't matter, just have fun. Build something interesting. That was enough. That's not how I roll anymore. I love to have a long-term view. It may not have details, it may be the sketchiest of outlines, but it's there. And this world does not have that. I look at my guardian farm and it is totally out of place with my base and expanding zoo and my little eco-village. There are also weird but fun things in this world, usually to do with Christmas, like the gingerbread house fox snow globe, and now the Christmas bauble base, another symptom of being a YouTube world, to be honest. Some parts of this world have lots of backstory, lots of lore, and some have none, and some are somewhere in between. And even if you do start with a story in mind, it may well change over time. Be prepared for this and for more. Be prepared for you to change over the years of playing in your forever world, and for having that change there for you to see. Which brings me to my third forever world, which is my current YouTube world. It's been running about a year, I think. I haven't done a lot in it yet, it's still relatively new, but it does have an idea behind it. It does have a vague story arc, so it not surprisingly fits my current playstyle. Whether it stays fitting, I can't say. It's a forever world. It will change as I change. If the original stuff annoys me too much, I'll just move further out and start again in another part of the world. And that's a plus for a forever world. You can always start over while keeping what you've already done. You can even start all over again from scratch. Sort of. Feel like getting back to basics, punching trees and making wooden tools? Put all your netherite gear in a box, empty your inventory, head out to new terrain a long way away, and you can start again. And if you get fed up or think this wasn't a great idea, or you finish whatever you were doing, you can go back to civilization, get your good stuff out of the chest, or if you've gone full netherite again, look on that as a backup set, and regain the advantages of everything you've already done. But what happens if it doesn't work out at all? If you find you don't like your forever world, or it's just not for you, or there's a problem, it is okay to let a forever world go. The very first Minecraft world I started, I intended to be my forever world, even though, looking back, it wasn't that great. You had to travel over 2,000 blocks in any direction to get something that wasn't desert or savanna. For a long time, the only wood I had was oak and acacia. But I intended to keep it. I had a base I was happy with. I was starting to fix villages and really enjoying that. I was avoiding the nether. I loved my world. But then it began to have corruption issues. Only I didn't know what was happening and I hadn't backed it up. I just knew that I would log on and chunks near my base were swapped, ruining the nearby terrain. I tried to fix the terrain by hand. It kept happening. Eventually I looked it up and went, oh, but I persevered, playing in there occasionally, although it felt increasingly uncomfortable, nerve-jangling, but I kept that world going. And then we got an update, the one where we got cold oceans, and I got icebergs next to desert and savanna, and that was the last straw. For some reason that really ticked me off. I was thinking coral reef would have made sense, but no, and at that point I gave up. Luckily, I had archived my starter house and the associated base expansions in my creative forever world. I can't bring myself to delete that first world, but I don't play in it anymore. It is no longer a forever world, and that's okay. Even the best relationships stop working sometimes, and this one stopped working. It was best for both of us to part ways. It is more than all right to decide after a while that that really wasn't a forever world after all. This is your game. It's your world or world. You can play how you like and you can change your mind about how you play. But unless there's a real problem with a world, I would advise keeping your ex forever world in your save folder. Don't delete it in case one day you want to go back and have a look again, or even start playing in it again. You never know how you may feel about it down the track. But definitely don't make the mistake I did. Back up your worlds, particularly the ones you want to keep, particularly the ones that are your forever worlds. You don't want to lose them because you forgot a basic bit of Minecraft housekeeping. That would be heartbreaking. So where does all this leave us? For me, I love my forever worlds, and I intend to keep them going as long as I am going. I would say, no matter who you are and how you play, it could be worth having a go at a forever world. You don't have to play in it all the time. You don't have to play in it in survival. It just has to be the one that you keep coming back to, the one that you keep going, no matter how many others you start and abandon, no matter how many updates. If nothing else, it teaches acceptance of past failure or of past ineptitude. and is a good reminder of how far you've come. Whatever it is you love about Minecraft, just remember, no matter why you are doing this or how you choose to do it, back it up.